Hey everyone, it's David H. Medium here, and thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel yet already, please do so now. You know where to click. So every time I upload a new video, you guys get notified and you're then able to follow my video series on all things psychic and spiritual. So grab your cup of tea or cup of coffee, head over with me now to the Morning Lounge, which is part of the Spirit Lounge video series with myself, David H. And I will see you there. Well, hello, good morning everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and thanks for coming on to watch this episode, and I hope you've enjoyed all the other episodes so far. So in this episode, episode 6, we're going to talk about ethics and responsibility when working with mediumship and doing psychic readings. What I will say before we get into the actual video is that, and this goes for all my videos actually, is that these are just my opinions and my views, and especially on how to work ethically. This is just through my own personal beliefs, and not everyone has to agree with them. Now, it doesn't really matter to me if you actually agree with what I say, but if it actually gets you thinking, then that's the important thing. So ethics and personal responsibility is probably the very first and most important principle I learned when I was training and developing. And that's because it teaches you how to work ethically like you would in any job, and also being responsible for what you say to people, how you say things, to make sure that you do work in a professional, ethical and responsible way. So as much as I'm very honest and direct with people during my readings, I still hold those ethics close to me, and I work very closely with my ethics, my morals and my personal responsibility. And unfortunately, I've heard horror stories directly from my own followers where they've had readings with other people and they've left them distraught, they're upset, and to a point they're a little bit disturbed about what they've been told during that reading, and that should never happen. So I always take my ethics, my personal responsibility very, very seriously in my readings, because obviously I want to give people what they need to hear, but there's certain lines that you just don't cross. So let's first look at working ethically, and what do I mean by working ethically? Well, it's working with ethics. It's working in a professional way which respects both you and the client, and also respecting spirit as well. So for example, you hear stories of drunk people going up to other people in bars and pubs, like you used to back, before 2020. And, people tell me, I had a drunk person come up to me the other day and tell me I've got spirit around me and they can see this and see that for me. Well, no professional psychical medium would ever come up to you drunk, or should ever come up to you drunk in a pub, in a bar, wherever, and tell you they can read for you. That shows no respect for you or for the spirit world. That's just ridiculous and also unethical. Secondly, going up to random people in the street or in the supermarket or wherever it might be, telling them you've got a message for them that you can read for them. That is, again, highly unethical. And no, this is my opinion, and no professional ethical medium or psychic would go up to anybody randomly and say, I've got a message for you. Because again, it's unethical because it shows no respect for you or for spirit world, because you effectively, they're encroaching on your privacy. Some people don't want to be approached in a random supermarket or out in the street. They're minding their business, doing their day-to-day stuff. They don't want some stranger coming up to them to say, "Oh, I can read for you." It's an invasion of privacy, and that's just my opinion anyway. So that's something I do not do and will never do. And I don't care these mediums might say, "Oh, spirit will push me to say it." No, they won't. Spirit are pushing you to get on with your day, to live as a human being and leave other people alone. That brings me on to another important principle, is seeking permission before you read somebody. So again, mediums and psychics who work doing this professionally and for the good of people will never approach people saying they can read them. And you get a lot of those scammers on Facebook and social media and wherever else. But no professional medium or psychic will ever do that. Because again, you're invading someone's privacy, you're not seeking their permission. And that's another principle, as I just said, that we should all work with. is seeking permission before you read someone, not just going up to them in the street or supermarket, cinema, bar, wherever it might be, and say, I can read for you. So from another ethical point of view, there are other certain things that I will not discuss, and we shouldn't really, as mediums or psychics, discuss these next three things because they're quite sensitive topics. But they are pregnancy, health issues, or legal issues. Now, it's probably obvious as to why we shouldn't talk about them, but I'll just mention it quickly anyway. With pregnancy, I am not God. It's not in my hands as to whether you get pregnant or not. That's between you and God, or if you believe in God, or you and your surgeon, you and your midwife, you and your doctor. That's got nothing to do with me. So when people ask, and I've had people ask me, do you do pregnancy readings? Well, first, what is a pregnancy reading? I'm not going to tell you if you're going to get pregnant or not, because, that's not my place to do that. It's the same with health. Again, I am not God. I am not your doctor. I am not your nurse. I have nothing to do with your health issues, and it would not be my place to tell you whether you've got a certain condition, whether you're going to be better from it or not, because sometimes you might not be, and I'm not going to give that bad news to people. But also, again, it's not my place to discuss your health issues. I am not a medical professional. And I have had people inquire with me about doing those types of readings, and I have said point blank, no, I am not doing that, because that for me is crossing a line. And I know there are psychics and mediums out there that will do that, and that's on them, and they can do that, that's fine. But I won't cross that line because, again, your health, the state of your health, fertility issues, and even legal issues, they are not for us to discuss or talk about. And you'll see that on many different psychic or spiritual websites, it will state in a small print, we will not discuss these issues for that exact reason. And just one last thing on the ethics there. I will also not read the energy of another person who's not part of the reading. And I've seen a lot of psychics, mediums do this, and I don't agree with it. And so basically what I mean is, people have said to me before, I'm in a relationship with somebody. Here's a picture of them. Can you look and see what they're doing behind my back and see, where is this person going? Actually, no, I can't. Again, it comes back to the principle of seeking permission of a person before you read them. So if I did read that person from that picture, I'd be totally crossing that line of I've not seek permission to read this person. At the end of the day, that person might not want you to know their business, right? It's no different to your family member coming to me and saying, can you have a look at my son and my daughter's, relationship or work life, what's going on there? Well, if they want to tell you, they'll tell you themselves, right? And some psychics will do that, and they'll tap into another person and they're having an affair. And that's not your place to do that. That's between those two people, so leave that alone. So that's another thing that I will not do, because for me that crosses another line. So let's talk about personal responsibility. So what I mean by this is being aware of what you say and how you say it, because you're ultimately, as a medium psychic, you're responsible for what you tell people. And readings can be emotional, and when people are in an emotional state, they will tend to hang on to every word that you say to them. So they may take certain words or phrases and in their own head, and not necessarily on purpose, but in their own head, it translates in a different way, which can come out more negative. And reading should never be negative, they should always be positive. So it's being very much aware of what you say to people. So to demonstrate how not to do it, I'm going to give you some real examples now. Now, before I mention these examples, I must be clear and say I don't know who the mediums or psychics were involved in these conversations, but these are just direct examples given to me from my followers who have been following my page for a while and have come to me for clarification, for some reassurance on what they were told by another medium or psychic. So it's not about bashing those mediums or psychics, but this is to show really how your personal responsibility comes into play, and also blending in the ethics with it as well. So first example, one of my followers came to me, and she had recently had a reading with another, I don't know if it was a medium or psychic, I can't remember which one it was, but either way, they'd picked up that this lady's grandfather wasn't very well, which is fine. We might pick up there's somebody around you, which is not doing so well at the moment. They're feeling a bit under the weather, etc. But this psychic or medium told the lady, oh, by the way, they're going to die and they've got 4 months left to live. Now, do you think that's okay to tell somebody? I don't think so. Now, what do you think the impact was on that lady? Well, she's going to do nothing but worry for those next 4 months, waiting for her granddad to die. What kind of message does that send to that person? And the fact that she had to come to me for reassurance, ask me if it's true. Now, I wasn't part of the reading, so I can't tell her if that was true or not. That psychic may have seen information in their head, but for some reason, somehow, it made it out of their mouth to the client and given that information. That's that psychic or medium's personal responsibility and ethics completely gone out the window. Another example, and this is quite sensitive, this is to do with children, but a lady had lost a child. I think it was a baby, if I remember correctly, and I can't remember how the baby died, but the lady had a reading. Again, I'm assuming it was a medium if they're connecting with the spirit of the baby, and this medium had decided to tell this lady that her baby was stuck in between two worlds because of the way it died and it can't find peace. Now, this is a mother who just lost a baby, and this medium decides to tell that to her. What kind of impact do you think that's had on this lady, worrying that her baby is stuck in between worlds, like in a purgatory kind of state? Purgatory? I don't think so. So I, again, had to reassure this lady that, in my personal belief, I don't believe in purgatory anyway, but the fact this lady had to come to me or to another medium, and I don't mind reassuring, that's not the point here, but the fact that that reading had left that lady in such a state that she had to seek reassurance from somebody else, and that should never happen. Now, the last example was a more recent example. Again, a lady had to come to me because she had a reading, and her dad had passed a few years before, and about 7 years actually, and she's still grieving. As her father, she lost her father, as anyone would grieve when they lose a parent, or anybody else for that matter that they were close to. And this medium decided to tell her that she needed to stop grieving because her grief has held her dad back from passing to the spirit world, passing to the light. What a crock of what nonsense. Again, what kind of impact do you think that's had on that woman? This woman has carried this guilt and this burden of thinking that her grief has held her dad back from passing over to the spirit world, and that someone is stuck somewhere because you can't rest because she's too emotional. What utter rubbish. And again, that, in my opinion, that ethics and responsibility of that medium, zero. So the message here is, if you are a psychic or a medium working professionally, or even practicing, I don't know, do you want to be responsible for causing the amount of distress that I've just described in those examples? Probably not. Again, you are the messenger. You are supposed to be giving healing, uplifting information and messages to your clients, not causing them that kind of distress. So if you are new to this work, maybe have a think about that and really understand who you are and what your ethics and responsibility really include, because none of the above should ever be said to anybody. And further to that, maybe think about putting yourself in their shoes. If you were going to have a reading, and fair enough, you might have a family member that is sick, but do you really want to be on the receiving end of a message like that? Probably not, because you're going to carry that. And again, as I said before, when you're in an emotional state during a reading, you're going to hang on to certain bits of information that is given to you, and negative bits of information like that clearly have played on those people's minds, and they've carried that with them enough to come to me to ask me to clarify or to reassure them about what was said. And as much as it's important to be real and honest and transparent with our clients, there's also something to be said about editing out what we don't feel the client should be hearing. So that's using your intelligence, right? And there are psychics and mediums out there which, will always say, no, I keep it real, I'm straight talking, I'm direct. Well, there's a difference between being real and straightforward to being a knob, right? For me personally, if I do pick up things about someone's imminent death, I hold back on that because that isn't my place to tell that person. And I always work with the ethos of people should leave my readings feeling better than they did when they walked in the first place. So my readings should be uplifting. They should bring that upliftment in. They should bring some of that healing in. They should bring some peace, maybe a bit of comfort in there as well somewhere. But they should never leave the person walking out the door feeling worried or distressed or upset or anything like that, because they are just negative emotions, and that's not the point of a reading. So be smart, think about what you say to people, and if you do get information come in that you think is not necessarily right, then don't say it. Use your intuition like we tell everybody else. If you don't feel it's the right thing to say to someone, don't say it, especially when it comes to things like death. You don't tell people when they're going to die or when their loved ones are going to die. That's not up to us when somebody else chooses to pass from this world, right? So in summary, if you are a newer medium or a psychic watching this video, and again, you don't have to agree with what I say. I'm not asking you to agree with my opinions. These are just my opinions and my views, because I take very seriously what I do and I'm passionate about helping people. So if you are new to doing this work, think about those principles, working with ethics and personal responsibility and seeking permission. Now, as much as we want to help as many people as we can, there's always a time and a place to give a message. And out on the street, in a supermarket, with randomly approaching people is not the place to do it. So that's it for this video. I know I might have been quite direct and real in the video, but this topic is really important to me because there are so many horror stories out there about people being treated in a certain way during their readings, and it's not right. And we need to remember, as mediums or psychics, we are here to uplift people and to give people positive messages. Yes, there's not always love and light. There is light and dark. Life is hard. Life is tough. But it's not about giving negative messages like the examples I gave earlier. Okay, that's not what we're here for. Which our ability, if you want to call it a gift, I don't, but we're given an ability for a purpose and for a reason, and it's to help other people feel better. Ultimately, that's what it is. So I'm going to shut up now, stop rambling, and I'm going to let you excitedly look forward to the next episode after this. Aren't you excited? So thanks for joining this episode. It's been episode 6 where we've talked about ethics and personal responsibility. And again, I do hope you're enjoying the content of the channel, and I do hope that you continue following me and following the episodes that are to come as well. Some interesting stuff to come. So thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next episode.